Hi, welcome to Be Fucking
Freaking.
For Real. I'm Tori Naim. I'm here with my mom.
I'm Amy Chen Mills. I'm the mom. I'm the author of the book, The Spark Inside, a special book for youth, and State of Mind in the Classroom, a book for educators on thought, consciousness, and the essential curriculum for healthy learning.
And I'm a high schooler.
And I'm, like I said, a mom and a counselor and an activist. I'm lots of things.
Okay, today our topic is going to be what it means to be a good or bad person.
Yeah, but we do have a disclaimer for today, which is that the Israeli-Gaza war is happening right now, and this affects a lot of people in our family and also a lot of people in our community. There are a lot of very strong opinions, and even within our own household. And I am feeling, I don't know about my daughter, I am feeling sad and depressed today about the whole situation. There's a lot of talk about who's good and who's bad in this situation.
Yeah, it's heavy.
It's super heavy. And I don't think a lot of people know. I mean, one thing that you said was that a lot of people don't know a lot about the area and the region and about the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think one thing that we could possibly all agree on is it's time to learn more about the history of the region and also looking more into the other side of things than what you might be used to. And I know that's hard right now because people are post trauma, frightened, feeling very attacked, angry. There's a lot of post trauma from like the Holocaust, anti Semitism, and for the Gazans, just bombings. So it's a lot.
It is.
I'm feeling the weight of the suffering of everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were going to talk about good people and bad people. Are there good people and bad people? Do you think some people are actually like innately good or innately bad? I don't even remember why we were going to talk about this.
Um, I don't know why either, but I feel like there's a lot of questions about can you be born a good person? Are you born a bad person?
Yeah.
I think it's not. I don't think you're born a good person or a bad person. I think it's your surroundings and how you're brought up that makes you who you are. It makes you make choices and how you live your life.
Yeah, there are people who are considered to be, quote, malignant narcissists or sociopaths.
Yeah.
And even from what I've read, they have like a deep wounding from childhood, that made them feel so scared and so bad about themselves that they now have to sort of like constantly prove to themselves their worth, and they don't have a lot of compassion, if any, for other people because it's kind of like the way people are now with the war. They're so scared and angry that it's hard for them to see another point of view. And I understand that
Yeah.
because when I'm scared and angry, I can't see another point of view. And I think that's kind of how narcissism is and sociopathy.
You
So
don't.
those people are hard to deal with. I'm not someone who would ever give up on someone. I feel like people can go to jail if they need to, if they're unsafe, but I would never give up on someone's innate goodness.
Yeah. People lack empathy. But I think me and dad were actually talking about this like a
Yeah.
few months ago. And he was like, it wasn't me and dad, it was me and Babu actually. She thinks
That's her grandma.
that's my grandma Babu. It's not like a normal name to call your grandma. I just made it up with my sister for some reason.
I think some people call their grandmas
Babu,
Babus.
I think it's like Baba.
Oh, different things.
I don't know. We just call her that.
Right.
Anyways, my grandma, who's a Christian Chinese woman who lives in America now, thinks that people are good seeds and bad seeds. She told me that. And I told her, I don't think, I think all seeds are the same. I think we get watered with good water or bad water.
That's a good metaphor.
Yeah. So that's what I think. I think obviously mental illness is real, but also how you're treated for that mental illness affects how you act. You can be
Yeah.
a sociopath, but understand your mental illness and not act on anything or not be super evil. You can just
I know it's
chill.
hard when you're so, and then you get into a big mess because you're lying to people. You get yourself backed into a corner. It must be a hard way to live, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, from a three principles perspective, we would say that everyone's connected to goodness because everyone's a part of life and life itself is divine, that God is life. And so you can always find a part of yourself that's connected to that divinity, to that universal goodness and wisdom and insight. It's just that if you listen to your busy mind too much, you won't hear it. It's part of you, it's in you. It is goodness. And it's just a matter of believing that you have that inside of you and giving it space to emerge. I don't know if that makes sense. That doesn't mean so like on the outside in the way that people behave, you can have people who behave good and people who behave bad. And sometimes people who behave good because they think they should be behaving good, like it's not really that they are good.
Selfish.
It's kind of like for their own self-image
Yeah.
that can happen. It's probably better than being a bad person.
Yeah, that's like the show The Good Place. Like they're all I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but they're all in heaven, which is actually hell. And they're trying it's like your whole life is based on a point system, right? And everything this is what I was talking about with Bob too. We should have her on the podcast. Anyways,
Mm.
um, you're ranked. If you have a good amount of points, you go to the good place. Negative points or bad amount of points, you go to the bad place. And there are bad people who go to the bad place, but this devil archetype something. I don't need to go give you the whole synopsis, but basically they figure out they're in the bad place that's disguised as the good place, and they're like, oh my god, we need to get our points up. But they realized everything they did, knowing that the system was in place that was supposed to be good, was bad because now they knew and they only did good things to benefit themselves at the end. So it didn't really count.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Yeah. So they're like, what? And that show is actually good. I recommend it. It has a lot of talks about philosophy and moral ethics and everything that we're probably going to talk about today. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of what's good. Like, are you only doing good? I think it goes into religion too. Like, if you're a Christian, you believe in heaven and hell. Are you only doing good so you don't go to hell?
That's not maybe a good reason to be good.
Not a good reason to be good. I think being good is for, I think doing something good or being a good person is doing something to benefit someone else or something else with no reward or not expecting anything, giving and not getting.
Okay, here I have a concept for you from a three principles. And when I say that, three principles is just like a lot of other deep spiritual and mystical philosophies.
Yeah, I don't
It
think we know what that is, and you've been talking about it a lot.
I know. Well, maybe the next show could be about the three principles more directly. We could have whole show about it. But basically, the idea that everybody has goodness inside of themselves. And wait, what were you just talking about? Because I lost my train of thought.
Um, Giving but not getting anything in return.
Right. So a lot, I mean, most human beings walk around with a lot of insecurity,
Mhm.
insecure thoughts, negative thoughts, fearful thoughts. And that makes them behave in certain ways. Now, if you can start to see, and we can talk about this in whatever three principles show we do, if you can start to see that your thoughts are just thoughts, they're not like just because you have insecure thoughts doesn't mean you're the bad person you think you are, or the insecure person, even you think you are. You're just having these insecure thoughts in the moment. And the more you are able to shed those thoughts or dissolve them or let them go, or the more they let go of you, is another way of putting it, the more you see through them, the more you feel better. And when you feel better, when you feel more healthy and whole, you're just automatically kind, and you're automatic like when you're in a good mood, and when I'm in a good mood versus when we're in bad moods, that's a whole different scenario,
Yeah.
right? Like sometimes you're so kind and so supportive and so sweet. And when you're in a bad mood, I know I can't
Thanks.
count on that, and that's fine.
Let's just stop there, the good part.
It's the same for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once you learn how to take care of yourself, and once you've taken care of yourself, you can start to take care of other people. And that's a big saying, you gotta love yourself before you can love anyone else.
Right.
And I also want to say about being a good person and a bad person, it's just about like, I think it's a matter of identity and how other people perceive you and how you perceive yourself. Because I think a lot of people, at least me, I think a lot of the times I don't think of myself as a good person a lot of the time. Sometimes I'm like, I'm such a bad person. And that's like my overall standing.
Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about from the
Yeah.
last show.
Yeah. Like identity.
Should I talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have this, I notice in human beings, we have this core thinking that we are not okay. I call it core thinking because you don't always think it like, oh, the sky is blue, it's a sunny day, it's a rainy day. Those are all, oh, I'm feeling stressed out. Those are all thoughts we might recognize easily, but underneath it all is this fear that we're bad. And I think it comes from religion, it comes from childhood, it comes from all the trauma of all the different generations of people hurting one another and being the victim and the aggressor and back and forth, like I think that a lot of us feel like somehow at our very core, we are bad.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I think it's the media. Like all of the stories we heard as kids, there was always the antagonist, the bad character, and we've grown up with these things, good or bad, good or bad. Are you the hero or are you the villain? And I think
Oh, that's true.
when
All
people
these like dichotomies.
yeah, and when
Mhm.
people do one thing bad, they're like, I'm evil. But I don't think it's like I also don't think you can be completely good or completely bad. I think everyone's in the middle. It's like that day, that minute even.
That's
It's
true.
or I also think about it if you try. If you try to be good, you're good.
It's good to try.
It's good to
You could
try.
get some credit for trying.
Yeah.
And also I think you don't have to try so much when you're in a good mood, when you're not thinking negative thoughts about yourself. That's why it's so important to get rid of negative thoughts about yourself, negative self-talk, because then you naturally become more loving. It's part of our nature. It's not even about being good, right? Like I'm going to be a good, it's just like I am good. Goodness is a part of me. It's the part of me that is able to love. It's the part of me that's able to listen, to have compassion, to do the right thing, and it's sometimes very quiet and drowned out by all the noise of our negative thinking. But I do think it's so important for every human being to understand that underneath the thoughts of I'm a terrible, bad human being, which can be very subconscious, if they can kind of start to see through that as just thinking. And this is something I learned when I was younger in my 20s. It was really important for me. I felt so responsible for everything I did, like that I determined whether it was good or bad. And I was working really hard on trying to be someone who had friends and someone who was doing good things with their life or whatever, all these things you think. And I had to start to let go and just kind of like go with the flow because I was trying so hard and it was all from my brain, like my
Mhm.
intellect. And I learned that if I could just sort of let it relax and let just not even care about that, the good part of me would come out.
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally, because it's already there.
Yeah. I think that presents itself like that everyone has a good part. Everyone has good in them. I think it presents itself in a lot of ways in a lot of different cultures and religions. Like everyone's like Jesus is inside of you, or a lot of people say that there's a tiny voice in your head always telling you to do the right thing. And
Yeah.
sometimes you ignore it, but when you listen to it, it always works out better.
It's often called the still small voice. And it kind of goes back full circle to being in a wartime with, I think the Israel-Gaza conflict is more part of the American psyche than the Ukraine-Russia conflict, unless you're actually Ukrainian or actually Russian, because we are so connected to Israel as a country. And I know that in wartime, and I've seen it on social media, there's a way that we want to see the other side as all of them, every person as bad.
No, we group people together so much.
Group them together. They're animals,
It's the
they're
downfall of
maniacs,
human
they're
society.
yeah, either they're less than human or they're evil and they're, everything's on purpose. And it is really easy to get caught up in that right now. I'm seeing it from all sides, and it's making me really sad.
Yeah.
And I can see it happening even in my side conversations with my friends who are Jewish or my friends who are support the Palestinians. I can see their points, and I also really want us to stop hurting each other so much. We should end the show.
Should
So
we keep going?
talking. It's okay. Anyway, I guess one thing I wanted to share is it's okay to have lots of feelings right now and to try to hold space. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had a Instagram live that I really, really appreciated because she did seem to take on everyone's point of view. And she said, there's so much trauma. And she said, we can hold space for each other and understand that people are incredibly frightened and just be really sensitive to that. And
Yeah.
people are really, at least we can start there.
I think it's like what you were saying. I know it sounds elementary, but just have sympathy, empathy for each other and know that I think I switch off between two ways of living life. Living life like, oh, like with a lot of empathy or with like alienating everyone from me and forgetting that we're all human. We're all like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have like the mood swings and they're
I think once I have to remember that, oh, I'm thinking all these thoughts, like, oh, I'm the only one. Like, I just have to remember that I'm not alone. Every other human on this earth, as we know of, is thinking these thoughts, having the same emotions, having 1,000 thoughts go through their head every minute. And it humanizes them. And I feel like a lot of times when I'm feeling alone and I'm feeling sad and depressed and angry, I alienate humans.
yeah, because you're so focused upon yourself. All your thoughts are like, I'm not talking about you necessarily, but in general, people are like, why me? Why me? It's all happening to me. And
Hmm.
me. It's all about me. It's the opera of me. And it's
Ego.
just a very limited form of thinking, as like a bubble of your own thoughts that you're stuck in, or like a circle that you're stuck in. And you know what? Sometimes that's going to happen, but I think the important thing is to not take it so seriously and to know that you're only thinking a lot of negative thoughts. As a result, you're feeling negative feelings. And if you don't take it too seriously, keep feeding those thoughts, they will pass and you'll come back to being the good person that you already are.
Period.
Period. Full
Period.
stop.
Humans are so ego. It's natural.
Yeah,
We were like literally obsessed with our ego.
I know.
How we look, how people perceive us, how we perceive ourselves. That's all we ever think about. Just
Well,
be.
you
But
know,
it's hard. I know it's hard. Sorry.
what Citibank said?
What?
He said, you can never get rid of your ego, which is like he called it the image of self-importance,
Hmm.
which is made of thoughts. But you can find out what it is so that it doesn't control you.
You said something to me once when I was in a bummer of a mood and I was like so upset about everything that was happening to me. I was so upset at myself. I was so upset at my ego or whatever. And you're like, it's not your fault. You didn't ask to be put here. You just are. Just be. And it resonated with me because it isn't my fault. It might be your fault, but it isn't my fault.
It's my fault that you're here on earth.
But I wasn't put here for any reason just to be. I'm just supposed to live. I'm not supposed to accomplish a whole lot. And I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself to be a good person, to be moral, to accomplish great things and save the world. But it's like I didn't ask for this. I'm just a soul.
Yeah, and my experience has been that the less I care about being good or being bad or what people think about me or what I should or should not be doing, I things naturally kind of like you have these natural visions for yourself, and like projects come up, and you can feel it in your heart, like what's right for me to do, and it just feels like, oh, this feels right. And
Yeah.
that's a really important thing. What I wish I knew when I was younger is how to follow my own wisdom, because I didn't even know I really had my own wisdom. Even though my dad was really involved in the three principles, I just never really paid that much attention until I was a little bit older. And I wish I knew that I had wisdom and that I could just follow my own heart and just what feels like the right thing to do, not what the Bible says, not what my religion says. I'm not saying those religions don't have truth, but not according to any rule book, but according to really what makes sense for me and my situation.
Follow your gut. You'll figure it out. I also wanted to talk about this saying, it's not a good deed if you tell someone about it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that saying?
I do a lot of things that people don't know about, actually. And
Um,
then sometimes I do tell people. I feel like it's just wisdom in the moment because, like, I ran for office. So then you have to talk about these good things that you did, or I kind of have a role in my community. I don't know how big it is, but I feel like letting people know that I do good things is important just so people will listen to me. But that's different than like I'm trying to like get like some leverage over you, or I have an agenda and I want you to like me.
Kind of like bragging or like advertising yourself. I have to do this a lot because I'm applying to colleges right now. And it seems like I have to remember every good thing I've ever done and just do it so I get into a good school and get a good job. And it seems very superficial and kind of selfish, but I don't really know how to get around that. I think about that a lot. Like when I do good, like when I'm nice to you guys, sometimes I think about like, oh, what if my parents die tomorrow and I was just a total B word to them? Like I have to be nice. And then I force myself to be nice to you. But is that just so I don't feel guilty if you get in a car crash and I was mean to you? Like, is that not a good deed because I feel guilty? I
I'll
don't
take
know.
it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I feel like people have a lot of pressure. They put a lot of guidelines on what's good and what's bad. And I think being good is just being good. And then I don't know. I think it's moment by moment. What do you think being good is?
Like I say, I think being good is when you're your most relaxed, natural self. You're naturally good. You naturally want to help people, because actually being good is its own reward. Because like if you do something nice for people, like when we were volunteering, for example, at the Homeless Garden Project, here we are talking about good things we've done, but it
It
felt
still
good.
counts.
What?
It still counts, you guys.
Still counts,
Just because I
yeah.
told you.
Or if you help somebody in need, or you give them a loving, kind word. I mean, these things all they all feel good because we're all connected. It's like there's a vibration that we share when we love other people, and it helps us feel that connected vibration when we are kind. In terms of people like dying, like it's good to think that people might not be around, because that's actually true.
Yeah,
It
I think it
doesn't.
always feels nice to be nice. But does that mean that you're benefiting yourself and you're only being nice so you can feel nice?
I think that's totally okay, because it's a kind of niceness that it is nice to other
It's like
people.
the with this children's book about the buckets, like bucket pourers and bucket scoopers. Like they all have buckets filled with liquid and you have ladles and you can either pour stuff into someone's bucket and eventually something's gonna get poured in your bucket, or you can steal from other people's bucket, and then people are gonna steal from yours.
Can you pour into your bucket and someone else's at the same time, like a double-sided ladle?
Maybe.
I feel like that's the key. That's really what happens if you're really, because if you are one of these people who does a lot of good things for people, which I know a lot of activists and political people in our community, for example, who really care about people who are unhoused, really care about climate issues, really care about the war or whatever. It's like people can care so much and do so much, and sometimes I do this where I get too stressed out, and I my mental health goes down, and then I'm not nice to you, and I'm not nice to your dad, and I'm not nice to your sister, I'm not nice to the animal, like I don't have any goodness left because I've been giving so much or trying so hard or
Your
wearing
bucket's
myself out.
empty?
My bucket's empty. So I don't think you can actually fill someone else's bucket when your bucket's empty.
If someone fills yours.
Yeah, that helps. It always helps when you're like, if you're kind to me or supportive, that really helps me.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we don't even know how much a little
Kindness.
kindness, a kind
How
word.
far kindness can go.
Yeah, and that's something maybe right now we need a lot of
It goes for the person you're kind to and for
for
yourself too.
yourself too.
I'm not starting school again, but I started in August and I didn't really talk to most of my classmates, like the people I didn't really know. But recently I've been giving a lot of compliments to people that I don't really know, but it makes me feel like a little bit better. I don't know why. It just makes me feel better about like being in a classroom. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to make people like I like when they smile and I like when they say thank you and I don't know.
Yeah. It's nice. It's kindness is wonderful. Kindness, it can be just a little smiling at someone, or it can be saving someone's life if you have the opportunity,
Mhm.
or many people's lives,
Mhm.
as some people do, being like big activists or diplomats or whatever, or who, I don't know, people who jump into the fray and start pulling people out of
What's a fray?
the fray. The fray is like the milieu, the mess, the chaos. The
Milieu?
fray.
She's like 3 words I didn't what's the milieu?
Milieu, it's like the water that people are swimming in.
Oh.
The fray, it's like the mess, the chaos,
Yeah.
like the messy, chaotic water.
I think we're all like how I think about it is that we're all connected. Like we're all dots around a big circle and all of the dots are our ego and we're always in our dots, but then it's a big circle. So when we go into the big circle, it feels so good because we're not in our egos anymore.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's definitely nice. And it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard in relationships. I mean, even dad and I have a hard time after being together for so long, but it definitely feels much better to be understanding, and to also, we can, this is probably for a whole nother show, but to understand that people have separate realities, and you might be in a good mood, but someone else may not be in a good mood. And whatever's going on in their head may have nothing really to do with you, but it might come out as like an attack on you, or something really negative being said or done to you by them. So it's nice to know that it's it's usually something that's happening inside of them.
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts.
Final
We're
thoughts.
all good people at our core.
Yes, for sure, 100%. And now I need to do a final thought.
Do a final thought.
Let's give each other a lot of space and grace and be kind right now, and kind of challenge our own minds to be more open to other perspectives.
Have sympathy. Treat your neighbor how you would want to be treated.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for listening to our second episode of Be Talking
Frickin'
for Real.
Next
Talk to
episode.
you next episode.
Ciao.
Ciao. Be good. You are good.
You've been listening to BFFR with Love, Tori and Amy. You can find all of our episodes at Amy Chen's website at amychen.com, AMICHEN.com on our show page, or go to Spotify, Apple, or YouTube and like, comment, subscribe to get this show out into the world. To find out more about Amy Chen Mills' coaching and education practice and her books, The Spark Inside and State of Mind in the Classroom for Educators, also go to her website at www.amychen.com. That's Amy with an I, CHEN, and also subscribe to our newsletter, which goes out usually about monthly, not much more than that. Thank you so much for listening, and have an awesome, awesome life.